Hey guys, how's it going? Toofty here, and I think I promised this episode about a year ago, so soz about that. I wanted to make sure I had loads of Demoknight footage for you guys, alright? So it did take a while to grab all that. Anyway, here it is. It's a series we've not seen much of recently, but it's going to be revived, it's going to be awesome. And today, we're dealing with Demoknight. As always, I like to look back at my gameplay, save the clips where I'm confronted by Demoknight, and see kind of if there are any patterns as to what I do. And then from that, see if I can put together some tips for you guys. And of course, this might be useful for you Demoknights too, because you get a little glimpse as to what other folk are thinking when we're trying to kill you in the face. So without further ado, let's jump in and take a look at what we've got. The Demoknights charge may well be the most terrifying noise in TF2, but it's a really great early warning system for us who are about to get smashed in the back. So my first tip for you guys would be to listen out for that charge. The moment you hear it, change directions, or even maybe feign in one direction and then switch directions again, you know? As you're doing this, you need to find out where they are as quickly as you can so you can deal with them. It's not the best example ever, but here we're on Frontier. I'm heading up these steps and I hear the charge at about this point. So my general trajectory was up these steps, so straight away the first thing I'm going to do is change directions, figure out where he is so I can try and deal with the threat. Okay, there's 2 or 3 tips I wanted to talk about regarding using your stickies to your advantage. The first one is creating some kind of sticky barrier between you and the Demoknight. Obviously, you don't always have time to do this, but when you do, just getting some stickies in between you and them can be a win-win situation where if they do decide to charge, you can detonate and get some damage out onto them, or alternatively, they may see the stickies and then actually decide to back off. Generally speaking, if you can and if you have your sticky bomb launcher out, immediately put down a sticky between you and them. It's worth bearing in mind though that sometimes Demoknights obviously can have a ridiculous amount of health, so if you think you've got a nice normal trap down there with 2 or 3 stickies, they may still be able to tank that. Here's another little example where it just shows how quickly I try to get a sticky bomb down between me and the Demoknight when I have that opportunity. So we're on 2-4, I'm just going to pop down here. I don't really know what this Demoknight's doing, I'm kind of messing about here a little bit, but the first thing I do when I land down here is just put that sticky bomb down at my feet, and there's a second one on the bridge. And so again, as he charges me, I put another one at my feet. This creates a great, barrier between me and him. In this particular example, I juggle him a little bit and then he kind of backs off. The second thing you can do with this sticky in between you and them is actually knock them off course when they do decide to charge. As I say, putting one down will deter them from charging, but sometimes they may decide to go for it anyway, in which case you can detonate just as they're on top of the sticky and try and juggle them off course. If you are going to try and do this, it's worth noting that if you detonate like after they've gone past, you kind of may end up throwing them at you even faster, so you've got to be careful with this one. Again, a bunch of examples in the background here, but this is kind of a funny one I had on 2-4 where I was having this kind of standoff with a bunch of demo men in the sewers, so I put myself down a little trap. I'm thinking that surely they're not dumb enough to charge through that, surely. But one of them went for it, why not? And I just detonate kind of as he's on top of it, but he survives. But he does at the very least get flung right past me. Unfortunately, his buddy comes along and absolutely demolishes me. So this is something I use with loads of different classes that kind of want to be up in your face. I think I've called it the sticky trail before. They're 2 words that shouldn't live together. I don't know. I should call it something better, but anyway, I'll leave it as that, it's fine. Sticky trails. But basically, if they do charge you and maybe they fall short or they miss you a bit and you're not dead basically, and you kind of want to move away from them, in that case you can kind of put stickies at your feet as they're following you. Now obviously don't put the stickies directly at their feet because with the arm time, I suggest putting them like 2 or 3 paces in front of where they are in the direction they're heading. Remember though that some of them may be able to run faster than you. Even if you're a demo man, they might be able to outrun you, but by having this sticky trail down, it doesn't only just put damage onto them, it also slows them down as well and may knock them off course again. Okay, so we've already talked a bit about movement, but basically it's really important to move erratically and unpredictably as they're following you, as they're charging you. This kind of random movement, I guess, just comes with practice, It's about getting into the opponent's mind in a way, thinking about what they think you're about to do, and then basically just do something else. but you can very often juke the enemy demo man loads of times by moving erratically, moving towards them, moving in the one direction they didn't expect you to move in. I think my main piece of advice here would be just to not run away from them directly, okay? So, you know, they've got it in their mind that they're scary, they're in your face. Most people will run away from them directly, and so their natural instinct is just going to be to start swinging directly ahead of them. Here's kind of a cool example. It kind of illustrates what I mean. We're on Barn Blitz, I'm near their spawn, a Demo Knight comes out, and he charges right at me. So I'm on this corner, I have a lot of opponents coming at me. These guys will very likely think that I'm going to move to the left, just simply because, you know, that's where my team is, that's where safety is. So what I'm going to do is the complete opposite. I'm going to move to my right, and in this case, I completely avoid his charge, whack a very well deserved crit pipe onto him, and escape with my life. So we kind of just saw this, and it is related to the movement I just talked about, but I wanted to single this out as a really interesting piece of movement that you can always kind of rely on to kind of outwit the charging demo man. I guess you would call it the MATADOR if you were a spy, and again you can do this with a lot of different classes. For me it's worked countless times, like it's ridiculous. Surely they'd get wise to it. It's basically about moving, one, as we said before, in an unexpected direction, but two, kind of towards them as well, because that's obviously the least expected direction, right? But obviously not directly towards them, more kind of diagonally towards them. So exactly as a MATADOR would do, right? He'd let the charge come into him and he'd move just to the side, you know, sidestep and move forward. This will buy you enough time just to maybe put a sticky bomb down at your feet, or maybe put a couple of pipes in the Demo Knight's face. Here's a fun little example actually. So we're on Frontier. I know there's a Demo Knight kind of after me, chasing me. So for some reason I decide to I put a trap down at least, but I'm also going to kind of see if I can face him off. He sees me, he charges, and all I simply do is a little kind of forward sidestep. I detonate as he comes in, and I'm able to get a whack with the pan and finish him off quite nicely. I like that example because it really did look like a MATADOR the way I was moving. But let's take a look at a second example that I guess really illustrates what I mean, because I'm playing Scout. I'm not particularly amazing at Scout, but you'll see me over and over again waiting for the swing of the sword, feigning kind of one direction and then moving towards him at an angle in the other direction. So often the quickest way to dispose of an enemy is simply by using your pipes, because it's basically the quickest damage output for the demo man. But of course it is going to be a little bit tricky because pipes are notoriously difficult to hit. That being said, Demo Knights tend to be quite close to you and they tend to move in fairly predictable manners, you know, especially when they're charging and they don't have that flexibility. But at the same time, you are going to receive a fair bit of self-damage if they're up close and personal. And remember, their health pool is very likely bigger than yours. But if you are confident with pipes, it's always very satisfying to use them. I tend to use this alongside the MATADOR and the crazy movements to kind of sidestep them, turn around, try and get a couple of pipes on them, especially of course if that's the weapon I have out, right? So whichever weapon I happen to have out at that second, I tend to use in the spare of that moment. So I wanted to talk about using your melee weapon against a Demo Knight. On the one hand, it seems a bit risky, but on the other hand, I think I've got the majority of my kills against Demo Knights with my melee weapon. It's ridiculous. I don't know what happens. I guess, you know, on the one hand, you're guaranteed a crit, so that always helps. That's, you know, that's a nice bonus. But I guess it's also because it's the last thing they're expecting. You know, they think I'm the king of hand-to-hand combat. Surely everyone's going to run away from me. But if you do a little sidestep, you know, the MATADOR, and actually run at them and maybe try and whack them around the side of the face with a frying pan, you'll be surprised how often that works really well. It's also really good to kind of combo this with, you know, the other things we talked about. So maybe you start by hitting them with a pipe, then they think, okay, he's trying to kill me with pipes, and then you actually change your mind, you actually run at them with a frying pan. It's all about kind of feeling the rhythm of the battle, if you like. That sounds really cheesy, I'm sorry about that, but you know, when he swings and when you swing, you know that little kind of game you get in when you're doing a melee battle. And there is nothing as satisfying as killing a Demo Knight with all of his juicy swords and shields and healthy buffy goodness with a nice whack of a frying pan. It's beautiful. Okay, so the very last tip I'll talk about is running away, getting the fudge out of there. A couple of options for this. Obviously, you can sticky jump away. If you're at full health and they're just about to charge, you can just get out of there. Or if you've got the sticky jumper, use that. Job's a good one. You can also kind of pipe jump off of their faces, not something I use very often, but it's another way of kind of getting damage out as well as jumping away from them. And as you can see, I've got one final example in the background here. For some reason I decided to tickle this demo man in the back with a pipe, and the odds weren't in my favour. There was a pyro right up in my face. I just decided to get out of there with my sticky jumper, grab health and kind of just kite them, as the cool kids are saying these days, as much as I possibly can. And there we have it, guys. They are my tips for dealing with Demoknights. I hope that helps you guys. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything I've missed. If you have any thoughts on what I've chatted about today, I'd love to hear from you guys. As always, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, become a Patreon, do all the cool stuff, I don't mind. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
Additional time.